Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? We are about to start this candidate forum, and we will have our opening by our officers.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Harold Bayon, President of the Citizens for Democratic Action. Right now, we're going to open the meeting with prayer. Those stand that can stand, and we're going to be led by the President of Legion by Mr. Sawyer. So everyone will stand with that prayer. Right.
Abba, Father, we thank you for another day's journey that you watched over and kept us on last night and rose us up early this morning with a portion of mental, physical, and most of all, spiritual awareness. I ask that you will give us godly wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that we will be able to have this form, that we will be able to get godly wisdom and knowledge, for you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So we're looking to you, that you will give us that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that you'll be with us and for us. For we know that when you're with us and for us, there's nothing and no one can be against us. So we're asking, thank you in your Son Jesus' name. Glory, hallelujah. Amen.
Amen. Would you continue standing for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How you doing?
Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Citizens of Democratic Action Political Forum. We're glad you came out tonight. We hope you get all the information that you need to make the right decisions on Election Day. We'd like to thank Mayor Ronnie Williams. Where are you, Mayor? Mayor and City Council members. Any City Council members, please stand. We want to thank you all for letting us use this building tonight. And now,
I'm going to
introduce you to our Sergeant at Arms, Kevin Stafford.
Stand up.
Chief Police.
The Chief of Police of Coshada, and Mr. Ernest Sawyer right here, retired veteran. And now I'll turn it over to our moderator, Ronnie Evans.
Good evening. Thank you, Deborah. We're so happy to have this forum.
One of them.
What we'll do first, we'll have each candidate to introduce themselves, and they will have 3 minutes each. After they have their opening statements, we have pre-selected some questions from the organization that we would ask each one of the candidates, and we would start on one end and go to the other end, and then the second question we'll start at the opposite end and come back on the other side. So at this particular time, we want to thank the mayor, Ronnie Williams, for allowing us again to use this facility. It's a beautiful place. Last time I was here, it was just 4 walls, but now it's really nice. We thank you. We want to thank Brother Steve Stringer, who is live streaming tonight. We want to thank him and his audio. We want to thank him for setting up all these mics and everything. And then most of all, we want to thank the audience. We want to thank you for coming out, because the candidates, if they just hadn't been here by themselves, they wouldn't have been able to get their message out. So we thank you all for coming to participate, and we thank those that are listening by our social media. At this particular time, we're going to start on this end with Brother Steve Pezant. We're going to give him 3 minutes to introduce himself. I see he has some family here. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself and his family, and we'll go on down the line. Thank you. Make sure you speak directly into the mic.
You may begin.
Hi, I'm Steve Pezant. I'm a candidate for sheriff in Natchitoches Parish. I've been here for 30 years now, living in Natchitoches, was Troop 27, been with the city marshal's office for 3. Married Tammy Morrow, which is originally from Natchitoches. Have a daughter named Sonia, and she's at Auburn right now. And I love helping people. I want everyone to know that I'm here to help. And please consider that when you're looking at me to vote for me, that I want to help you. I don't care where you live, where you're from, how much money you have or you don't have. I want everything to be fair and equal. And many of y'all probably have seen me directing traffic out at Natchitoches Central. That's because I want to help. That's what I want to do. The sheriff is a very important job, and I say job because it is a job in this parish. And you have to work at that job day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that's when you have your deputies are out there working. And I would love to be your sheriff, and please consider me. And if you have any question, like I say, you feel free to call me. And thank y'all for being here, and thank the citizens for Democratic Action for putting this on. Thank the mayor and the council for allowing us to have. And I want to thank the candidates here. And I understand that Mike Wilson buried his sister today, and he's not here for that, and send my condolences to him and his family.
Thank you, Steve. I should have announced at the beginning that Mike Wilson had death in his family. I think he buried his sister today, so we can understand why he's not here today. Our prayers go out to him and his family. Thank you, Steve. Our next candidate, Brother Jackson Jones, we're going to ask that you would introduce yourself with your opening statements.
Okay, you may begin.
Yes, my name is Jackson Jones, and I'm from Natchitoches, play sports here. I want to be sheriff because I've been around police cars all my life, and my daddy was a policeman, and several other people inspired me to go into law enforcement. I've been doing police work since 1981. I went to New Orleans, and I worked for Jefferson Parish Sheriff Office and maybe a few other agencies since then. My main goal is to try to communicate and educate people about the laws of our state, and also I want to be able to communicate with the senior citizens, more senior citizen programs. We need more mentoring programs for the young males in the community. I think Natchitoches is the ideal place to start being concerned about some of the crimes that we have here that we're dealing with. And I like to say I'm very happy to be here tonight, and thank God for all of y'all support. I like to get your vote. All votes matter to me, and I hope to be seeing some of you soon. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. Before we go on, would you silence your phones for me, please? Everybody, would you check your phones and silence?
Mr. Wright, Sheriff Wright, will you?
You may begin, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. I want to first start out by thanking everybody for allowing me to serve as your sheriff for the last 3 years. It has been truly interesting, and it has at times been truly challenging. When I first decided to run in 2019, there were several things that I promised, and I didn't promise a whole lot because I don't want to promise something that I can't carry out. I promised, first of all, I wouldn't do anything illegal. I promised I wouldn't do anything unethical. I promised I would beef up patrol, and I promised I would watch your tax dollars like it was my own. And I believe that we've accomplished those 4 things without a doubt. But let me tell you, there's a lot more that we have done at the sheriff's office that I want to tell you about, because most people don't even know this, and a lot of it's internal. But, you know, right off the bat, right when I took office, we had 2 major hurricanes, we had an ice storm, and we had COVID. And I don't know anybody that's ever had that thrown at them at one time, but believe it or not, we did well. We had people with water shortages, we had electricity out, and we were able to really take care of the whole parish. And I'm proud of my deputies for doing that. One big issue, the first go around, was the lack of patrol. And I promised that I would increase patrol, and I have. We have increased patrol for about 40%. We used to have 3 or 4, now we got 6 and 8. So that was a big factor. It was one of the first things that I wanted to do. The starting pay,
We will get into the details after we finish. I think the 3 minutes have expired.
No, not yet.
He got-
Yeah, he's not finished.
Okay.
now I know they're going to ask me specific questions, but one of the main things that I wanted to do was to make sure that we increase the salary of all of our deputies. And the starting salary, when I came on, was like $24,000. The starting salary for the deputies right now is up to $39,000. That is big, significant. We've been able to give 3 pay raises. There's my 3 pay raises in the first term for everybody. We have school resource officers at every school. We have body cameras and dash cameras on our deputies and in the cars. And that was one of the things that we needed, we had to do immediately. We have a record number of female patrol deputies on duty. We have laptops for every deputy. We've upgraded all the patrol vehicles and that are on duty. We have provided all deputies with AR-15s, all deputies with AR-15s. We've upped the duty weapons to Glock 9 millimeters. The deputies have updated ballistic vests. We've established leadership training in all sergeants and above. We have de-escalation training for patrol deputies. We have a new high-tech crime unit, which is unbelievable.
Time, sir.
Thank you, Stuart. Again, we failed to mention that Bill Vance and the Natchitoches Journal is supporting this live streaming tonight. So we want to also thank Bill Vance. He has Steve working for him tonight. And we see that the other candidate, Mike Wilson, has just walked in. We had got news that you had death in the family, and we was going to excuse you, but you strong man, you came, you showed up. We are at the introduction phase, so you're not really late. So we're giving each candidate 3 minutes to introduce themselves and family and whatever opening statement you would like to have, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Hold on, let me get you, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, you may start now, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Wilson. I'm a 30-year veteran of the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. While at the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office, I worked in many areas. I initially started off as the communications operator. From there, I went to become one of the first criminal patrol units there at the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. From there, I went to the investigations division, where I spent approximately 20 years. While there, I achieved the rank of assistant chief investigator. From there, I went to the patrol division, where I retired. There, I achieved the rank of lieutenant shift commander. While there, I had the opportunity of overseeing and field training many of the new deputies that are there right now. My wife and I started the first urgent care clinic here several years ago, and we operated over there on Kaiser Avenue, so we've been a part of the community. We attend the Abundant Life Church. We've been there for 23 years. She and I are both board members of the church there. We're very active in the community. We participate with things involving our youth and our elders. Also, we've gone through various communities throughout the parish. I've had the opportunities of working in all of the communities throughout Natchitoches Parish. I've been able to gain rapport with many of the citizens throughout the parish, and a lot of us are on the first name basis throughout the parish. I worked really hard to get to know the citizens of Natchitoches Parish over the last 30 years. We have a very positive rapport with one another. I feel good when I go into any community in Natchitoches Parish because I'm able to go and talk with individuals there and get feedback from them. As your sheriff, I assure you, our sheriff's office will become even more engaged with the citizens of Natchitoches Parish, and we will once again be the sheriff's office that you all can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, I'm glad you was able to show up.
Yes, sir.
At this particular time, we will have questions that has been selected from the Democratic Action Committee that was chosen to be asked to each candidate. Each candidate will answer the same question, and each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to the question. You have been introduced. The next thing we would like to know is what qualification do you feel the sheriff should have? And we will start with I think we started with Jackson, we'll start with you this time. We started with Steve last time. What qualification do you feel a sheriff candidate should have?
I feel that the sheriff should have law enforcement background behind him. I feel that the sheriff should also be educated on a lot of different type of specialties, whereas it might be rescuing, also rescue and other skills, hazmat. I mean, it's a number of them. I think a sheriff should be able to know the people in the parish. I think the sheriff needs to know something about dealing with people who got mental problems. His deputies should be always ready to respond to emergencies, preparedness. Also, a sheriff should be able to demonstrate public relations with the people and bring harmony when you go to the nightclubs and they don't want to act right and stuff like that. I think the people in the community really respect the law enforcement here, but we have a situation now where we got 4 good candidates other than myself. And I think we all should pull together on some of these crimes and deaths of the juveniles, and the people families are very much in grief right now. And I think we should be addressing all of those issues and maybe evacuation in case we have hurricanes or chemical spill or something along those lines.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. The next question goes to Sheriff Stuart Wright. The same question. What qualification do you feel the sheriff should have?
Thank you. The sheriff wears a lot of hats. You know, we have 4 divisions, and you have to be knowledgeable about all of those different divisions. It's a job where it is a 24/7 job. It's not something that you show up at 8 o'clock and you get through at 5 in the afternoon. My qualifications, I have spent 28 years as First Assistant DA here in Natchitoches. In those 28 years, I learned a lot about the criminal justice system, and actually being involved as Assistant DA, that is part of the criminal justice system. I also had a law practice for almost 35 years, and so as far as running a business, I know how to run a business. I think the sheriff has to have leadership ability. I think he has to be able to supervise people, to get them on board, to get things done. We have lots of problems in this country as well as in this town, and you have to address those problems on a daily basis. I spend my day starting at about 6:30 in the morning. I'm at the office, and then I see people almost all day long. People have domestic problems. They have relatives with addiction problems. They have land disputes. You name it, they have it. And this is something that really I'm really qualified to do because my background is so broad that I can help all of these people almost on a daily basis. And this is every day. People are in my office, and these are people who need help. And so I try to help them, and if I can't help them, I tell them why I can't help them, and I send them in the right directions. So with all of that, and also spending, 8 years as in-house counsel for the sheriff's office, I got to know all of the personnel, and that's one of the hardest things to do is to make sure your personnel get along with each other. We have 165 employees, and so there's always issues, but I've got a good staff with HR.
Time, Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. We'll move on to candidate Steve Peasant. The same.
Again.
I'm sorry, it won't be 3 minutes to answer, it'll be 2 minutes. Mr. Jones, you got an extra minute, so, but it's going to be 2 minutes to answer the question. Sorry about that.
Well, it's Steve Peasant's turn to answer. And the question is, what qualification do you feel the sheriff should have?
You may start.
Well, in the qualifications, you need to be a strong leader. You need to understand all kind of people and deal with all kind of people, because you do deal with different people every day. I put a uniform on for 33 years. This is my 33rd year of putting a uniform on. And I think it has to be the presence to know how to talk to people, when to talk to people, and when to do your job as the sheriff to help the families out. And also to run the budget, because it is a significant budget in this parish, and to get to know the deputies and their families to make sure that their needs are met, as well as the people that not only live in this parish, but travel through this parish, because Natchitoches Parish is relatively big on tourism. So we need to make sure that everybody is taken care of and have a strong bond with everyone, not only the deputies, but with the communities in this parish.
Thank you, Pizan. Our next candidate, Mike Wilson, the same question. What qualification do you feel the sheriff should have? And he'll tell you when to start.
You may start, sir.
Thank you. Well, like I said before, rapport has a lot to do with it. And when people say, how do you lead? My answer is you lead by example. I've had the opportunity of working in almost every division of the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. During my 30 years, I have worked side by side with many of the individuals who've retired, and many of those who are there now, and those who are aspiring to come there. And in doing so, I've had an opportunity to get to know them one-on-one. And like I say, we lead by example. I've trained with those guys and girls that are employed there at the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. I've had an opportunity of listening, sitting down listening and talking with them, explaining things to them, walking them through their trials and tribulations, and just basically working with them. We have a lot of young deputies, and they need leadership. I've had, like I say, I've had the opportunity of going one-on-one with many of them, and it's been very rewarding. Now, a sheriff has to be able to go out into various communities, be willing to offer himself up to the people of Natchitoches Parish. He's got to be present. He's got to be in every community, not just certain communities, at your leisure. People are having needs, they're having crises, and so forth, and a sheriff has got to be willing to go and stay as long as needed. And he's got to be able to recruit deputies with that same mentality, who are there to help the people of Natchitoches Parish, the citizens, do what they need to do to have normal lives around here. We have some issues going on. Unfortunately, we have a number of unsolved homicides and so forth, unsolved shootings going on. I would like to be on the front line with those detectives. Why? Because I have right at 20 years of investigative experience that I can lend to them to help maybe solve some of these crimes and deter some future crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We have finished the first questions. The next question that we have selected, if elected, what are your goals for the sheriff's office? And this time we will start with Stewart Wright.
Thank you. The goals that I plan to have for the next 4 years are pretty much the same goals that I've had for the last 4 years. Be there when I'm needed, be at that office, help people. You know, I picture myself as a working sheriff. I'm there every day working, trying to help people. I'm not out in the community drinking coffee because there's so many people that are in this area that have problems that need solving. I just think that what we have been doing has been just tremendously successful, tremendously successful. Every department that we have has done a great job. And one thing that I would point out, and I wasn't able to finish my list, but the things that we have done, it's resulted in us being first place by the Chamber of Commerce as far as best in community service. And I think the Chamber of Commerce making that award to the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office means so much to me. It is so important. It lets everybody know we are there. We are there to serve. We are there to help. So what I want to do is to continue what we've been doing. It has been successful. And what's the old saying? If it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. and it's not broken. We have some great deputies. I inherited some great deputies. I also have hired some great deputies. So what we plan to do now, as far as the crime, I'm sure there'll be a specific answer, question about that in a little bit. Crime is everywhere. We have to deal with it, but we have been dealing with it, and we have made a lot of arrests. But once a person is arrested, then at that point in time, the other part of the judicial system takes over, and it goes to the DA, and then it goes to the judge. We have a significant problem with juveniles, and that's what I plan on focusing on even more this next 4 years than we have in the last 3 years, and that's because of the change in several laws.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Same question goes to Jackson Jones.
Yeah, thank you. My goals for the sheriff's office would be to increase the employees, do more for the senior citizens, like in communications over there at the radio, communications for the 911 center. I'd like to have a DLR for direct line for the senior citizens to call if they're feeling bad or they need something along those lines. Also, I would like to get more equipment for the sheriff's office. More specialized vehicles, heavy vehicles you might need for some of the areas in the parish. The roads are not too good in places. And I'd like to also have a situation where we be working with mentoring programs. I got good leadership skills. I'm a hazmat specialist. And I just love people, and I know a lot of people in here that I see tonight, and I thank y'all for y'all support if you choose me to be your sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. The next question will go to Mike Wilson, the same question. What are your goals for the sheriff's office?
Well, my main focus is for deputy retention. We have a lot of good employees at the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. One of my goals is to maintain and keep those deputies there. Unfortunately, over the last 2 years, we've lost a number of deputies, and unfortunately, they haven't just gotten out of the profession altogether. They've chosen to go to surrounding parishes and work. I would like to keep our deputies here at home. A lot of us have relatives, friends, neighbors who once worked at the sheriff's office who no longer work there. I want those numbers back. I want those people back because those are really good people that I've come to know, and I've come to know that they respect the people of Natchitoches Parish and they want to work for the people of Natchitoches Parish. We have a lot of programs that, unfortunately, you know, COVID put a dent in a lot of our programs and so forth, but we're still going to Walmart, and we're still going to bars and so forth. So there are some things that we need to start looking back into that benefited, that the citizens benefited from. And we want to do that and get back on track with that. But for the most part, I want to get our people back in the communities, getting back engaged with people in various communities, and get us back on track.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now to Steve Pizan, same question.
Well, patrol is huge. You got to patrol this parish because this parish is huge, which means you would have to have manpower. And along with that, there, as Stuart said, there's also 3 other divisions that takes manpower. So manpower would be huge to get people to stay here, the retention to stay here. It's, my understanding is not where it needs to be, not necessarily anybody's fault, but it's just the times has got it to where it's at. So we would have to work to get the detention center back going because it's huge, because we do need somewhere to put these people if patrol catches them breaking the law and the detectives do their job. The more people you have working for you, the better the relationships you have with everybody in this parish, all communities. And as sheriff, you know, you need to be out making sure that those communities are taken care of. And also, you do need to be in the office at times. But I think I would want to be seen in the parish and out in the city, as I have been even as a trooper and with the marshal's office. I've been out and about, and that's what I think you need to do. You need to be out and take care of the people not only that live in this parish, but they again travel through this parish because it is your responsibility.
Thank you. That ends the second question. The third question that we will ask each candidate, out of the plans that you just mentioned, which would be your top priority and why? And this time we'll start with Mike Wilson.
Number one is hiring and retention of employees that are there right now. Because without the employees, we can't do anything. We can't provide a service for the citizens of Natchitoches Parish. We have to have strong, committed employees there. And that's my number one goal, is straightening that out. Getting our employees on one accord, get us working on one accord so we can better serve the citizens of Natchitoches Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. But it was, same question would go to Jackson Jones.
Well, I'm certified in the state of Texas and Louisiana for police officer. And I want you to know that I've seen some of our officers here local. They need some training, but I can train them and show them what they need to be doing and what they need to be looking for, because I'll be out there with them trying to make sure we get everything together. I think training is a big issue for the factors of saving lives, saving the officer life where he can go home to his family and this type of thing. And the reason I want to hire more people is because if you get enough people out there, it's a good possibility that nothing's going to happen, like a shooting or maybe somebody get cut at a bar room or something like that. Natchitoches got a little bit more crime than some chicken thieves. And I feel like I'm the man for the job. Ain't no use to me sitting here telling you I can't do the job. I can. I done worked in Natchez and Powhatan and Campton. And I just love the people in Natchitoches, and I love police work, period. So that's where I'm at with it. And thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you. The next one response would come from Steve Pizan.
What did you say the question was?
Well, what would be your top priorities and why?
Well, making sure that we are a family at work, that we enjoy coming to work, and that we know each other, know kids, know the wives, know mamas and daddies, grandmas and grandpas, because family is huge. And if you're not a family, it's a lot of times not fun to come to work. And I was fortunate enough with the state police that we were a big family, and would like to see that carried on. Because again, if the deputies are not happy, or any employee, ain't got to be deputy, but if any employee is not happy, it's hard for them to come to work. We'd want to make work fun. Come to work, let's do our job, let's go home. Let's enjoy the patrolling aspect. I think is huge. Because if you're not seen, that's where crime happens. And if you enjoy coming to work, you don't mind working, you don't mind patrolling, you don't mind having, I say, fun on the job. You need to have fun on the job because it is a very stressful job. You need to enjoy the job when you come to work.
Thank you. Thank you. The last candidate to answer the same question, what is your top priority and why?
Obviously, the top priority is going to be with the employees. We have lost a number of employees to Red River Parish, and there's one common denominator, the Haynesville Shell and money. We cannot pay what Red River can pay. They have unlimited funds. We have lost about 7 or 8 to Red River Parish. We've lost a number to the state police because they were 200 employees down, 200 troopers down, and so they can pay more than we can pay. That was the reason that I emphasized when I first started the fact that we have increased our starting pay for patrol from $24,000 to $39,000, trying to compete with our neighbors. And not only have they stolen employees from me, and I say stolen literally, but they've also gotten employees from the Natchitoches Police Department, and I learned just the other day Red River Parish had actually hired a lot of the school board employees. And so money is just, I mean, they have plenty of money. We are competing with that, and we're doing the best that we can. I feel like I will be able to get their salaries up even more, even though I've already given 3 raises and started the bottom salary at like $39,000. I just think that these young people, they're hard to hold on to. I'm telling you, they're hard to hold on to. And if they're offered a little bit more money, they think the grass is always greener. Now, out of those that we have lost, we have gotten a lot of them back because they realized things weren't just what they thought they might be. So investing in the employees is my #1 priority. It has been from day one. We paid the jail off here a while back, paid it off. That $320,000 that we were paying every year went straight to employee salaries and wages. And I promised them that I was going to do that, and I did do it. So we're getting there. We're getting closer and closer. It's just that hopefully the Haynesville Shale will get a little bit more south and south, and so that we'll be able to benefit from that. But employees.
Time, Mr. Wright.
Okay, thank each one of those questions. The next question we will ask each round the candidates is, would you be in favor of participating in establishing a rehab center? And this time we will begin with Jackson Jones.
A rehab center, I would be in favor of that because we have a lot of sickness in the community. I've been through the struggle in the black community where they don't really go to the doctor, they don't have the money to go, they don't have the money to buy the medical pharmacy needs and things along those lines. Like right now it's real hot and a lot of people don't have air conditioning. Some do, some don't. Yes, I would be in favor of having a rehab center.
Okay, specifically we should have said drug rehab center. So we're going to give you another minute to answer that. Would you be in favor of that?
Well, yes, sir. The drugs have changed on the streets. They got a lot of different type of drugs like meth and other exotic type drugs, but a lot of times when people are having these problems, they do things that they normally wouldn't do. And like I say, some of the people got mental health problems too. And I don't think we had the mental health place, so I would be in favor of that 100%.
All right, thank you. Same question to Steve Pizant. Would you be in favor and participation in getting a drug rehab center?
Yes, sir. The drugs have taken over. There's probably not a family in here that can't say drugs have not touched someone in their life fairly close to them. We do need a rehab center. I would be in favor of it because if you don't give the people a chance to rehab, how will you know if they can rehab? I'd be strongly in favor of a drug rehab facility for Natchitoches.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question goes to Mike Wilson, same thing. Would you be in favor and help establishing a drug rehab center?
Yes, sir, I surely would. I understand that we have a major problem here in the entire parish of Natchitoches in regards to drugs. But I want to make it clear that that would be an undertaking that would have to be a joint effort. And I'm almost certain I've spoken with many of the leaders here in the town, and they are all on board. They're willing to work together with the sheriff's office. If I become sheriff, we've already had that talk that we all agree that we would love to have a drug rehab center here in Natchitoches. Of course, it would more than likely be here within the city limits, and there again, that puts an extra burden on the city police department, and we will work together with them to do that. But I know that there are a lot of problems that have come about because of drugs here within the city limits and within Natchitoches Parish, and we've got to do something to kind of curtail that problem. And yes, sir, I am definitely in favor of a drug rehabilitation facility here.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
And the same question to Stuart Wright. Would you be in favor and help establishing a drug rehab center here?
Absolutely. When drug court first got started here under our court system, I was actually in the DA's office at the time, and I've seen a lot of rehabs work. I've seen a lot of them not work. The drug court that we had was one of the best organizations to help these people. And I'm talking about young people or old people. There's hardly a day that goes by that a mom and dad, I'm telling you, good people, good mom, good dad, sit in my office boo-hooing about what help is there out there for their child who's addicted to these drugs. So it's an everyday problem. But I will say this, that if you're going to have a rehab problem, it's got to be an extended care. You cannot send people up there to LSU for 3 or 4 days and they beat you back or come back and they're back on it in 5 or 6 days. You have got to have an extended. And financially, that would be something that we would have to have assistance from probably the state and every other type entity, including the hospital. It would be something, but it would have to be something that's long-term. And the thing about it is, with the drugs, you'll learn that you gotta want to get off of them. You gotta want to get off of them. And if you release them too quick, they're not going to be able to make that decision. They'll be right back on drugs. But our drug court program that we had is one of the few programs that I've actually seen actually work, that these people do get off their drugs and they do live a very successful life after that. Got to get them off their drugs, though.
Thank you, thank you. That ends those 4 questions for that particular round. The next question we have for each candidate, we know that most of our crimes are being committed by our youth. The question is, if there were funds available, would you pursue funds to benefit our youth programs? And this question goes to Mike Wilson.
Yes, sir, I would. Fortunately, we do have many good programs that people in the various communities have initiated to help our youth. We've just got to get our youth to the table. There are a lot of good opportunities and good programs out there. We've just got to bring them to the table and work with them. We've got to get some more leaders in the community, more people in the community to step up and help us with these young people. A lot of them have gotten off course, but they want to be going in the right direction. We've got to do everything we can to make sure that we allow for them to have that opportunity. In the different areas, of course, we all know what's going on here in the city and throughout the parish. We have a lot of our juveniles are involved in gun activity and so forth. We've had a lot of shootings, a lot of homicides and so forth. We need to reach out to our young people, not just our young men, but our young ladies as well. We need to reach out to them and give them we need to afford them every opportunity to have a productive life. And we're doing a good job, because there are a lot of agencies, a lot of opportunities out there, but we have to keep on digging. If we save one, we've done good. But we want to try to save as many as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. The same question will go to Steve Pizan.
Yes, juveniles, and I didn't realize how bad a juvenile problem we had until I did go to work with the Ward Warren City Marshal's office and work in juvenile court and seeing all the juveniles come through there. And they all starve for the same thing, a strong adult mentor. They don't have it, and what better people to mentor than people in law enforcement, so that they're not afraid of them, so that when you have a juvenile problem, they will come see you and talk to you about it. Because as Mike said right now, with the murders we've had in the city, it's hard to find out who it is because none of them talk, because they don't trust nobody. They trust absolutely no one. So we have to get the juveniles back to believe in not only in law enforcement that they're there to help you, not hurt you, but to be mentors, and the people in the community. Everyone needs to be a mentor to the juveniles because of the juvenile problem that we have not only in the city, but the parish, and it bleeds over. The parish comes to the city, and the city goes to the parish. It's the same groups doing it in both places. But the juveniles, again, I think they need strong mentors from whoever that may be, whether it's a nurse or police or whoever. The juveniles need very strong mentors so that they're not afraid to come out and play basketball and come see you at the grocery store.
Thank you, Mr. Peasan. Same question goes to Stuart Wright.
I'm in favor of the programs. The programs have been around a long time, and you see what's happening in our society now. You see on TV where people break into stores and steal $100,000 worth of items. They do this, they do this. I'm old school when it comes to this. What's lacking with these juveniles is consequences. There has to be consequences in order to get these kids to understand you cannot do that. When there are no consequences, there's nothing to keep them from bad behavior. You'll know that only consequences can change bad behavior into good behavior. And what those consequences are, that's something that we'll have to come up with. But our legislature has now still made 17-year-olds a juvenile. A juvenile at 17 years old, this day and time, he's an experienced criminal is what he is. So I believe we have our programs. I have no problem with those. I support them. I always have. But our society needs to have consequences. Without consequences, we're looking at this problem for a long, long time.
Thank you. Thank you. And the last candidate, Jackson Jones, same question.
I'm all for juvenile programs, youth programs. Got curfew enforcement we need to be looking at. Mentoring. Some of the crimes that we have here is domestic terrorism, like the shootings in the schools and the fighting, and they bullying you at school to make you join a gang over here. You got to be in this gang over here. And a lot of the problems, the parents know about it, but they don't know what to do about it. I feel right now that I got a background that would suffice the situation. I got a plan also, but it's more complicated and complex than what you would think normally kids would get into. And they got crimes against persons and property. They're stealing four-wheelers, motorcycles, all these kind of equipments. And the agriculture losing a lot of their equipment, hay balers and anything else you can think of, zero-turn lawnmowers. Then right now, these juveniles need to be kind of corralled a little bit, and I think we can do it as a team. But just because you're the sheriff's office, they ain't gonna pay you too much attention, not in the black neighborhood, because they're up all night, they walk in the street. I've been hanging on the block for 40 years up there on North Street and Amulet, and I know quite a few of them that come through there. One of them come through there the other day with an automatic gun. So I think there's a need, and we got unsolved murders, we got youth shooting youth, and the parents know about the guns, and they need to be held accountable too for some of the stuff that's going on. Thank you.
And thank you. We have one more question that we have selected from the Democratic Action Committee, and this has to do with our inmates. We know that once they are released, usually they go right back into the system. The question is, will you pursue any kind of education or some kind of program for reentry for our inmates into society once they're released? And the first question goes to Steve Peasan.
Yes, sir. Inmate rehab is huge because they are coming back out into society. They need to not have the programs while they incarcerated to know that whenever they get out that they can survive in the world. Because if some of them have been locked up 10 years, technology, everything has changed. I mean, technology changes every day in this world. So I'm huge on education of the inmates, any programs we need to do to make sure that they can survive when they get out. So they are not repeat offenders because, and I don't know the number, but I'm sure a lot of the ones that are in the Natchitoches Parish Detention Center right now are probably repeat offenders. But I mean, it ain't just Natchitoches, wherever jail or juvenile or correction facility has repeat offenders in it. So let's educate them. Let's try to teach them better to come out and be able to survive in the world when they get out, and know that it is better outside of the facility than on the inside of the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Pizant. Next question would go to Sheriff Stewart. Same question.
We already have a lot of the programs in effect. You can actually get your high school equivalent, your GED, which we used to call it, out at the DC. We used to have a great work release program, but here's what happened to that program and many of the other ones. They had what they call the Justice Reinvestment Act, and what this did was it went in and it let all of the nonviolent, non-behavioral inmates go free. They got to get out of jail. And so what did that do? That almost just did away with our work release program. It did away with all of our pothole. It did away with all of our trash picking up. We used to have 480 DOC prisoners out at the jail. And right now we're down to about 70. And those 70 are violent offenders. They're offenders that you can't let out of the DC to go and work at a training facility at Marco or someplace like that. So, you know, we have a major problem on our hand. But you know, I believe in trying to get these guys back out and to be productive. But the whole atmosphere's changed since they passed that Justice Reinvestment Act. All the good trustees, all the ones that get good jobs, we don't have them anymore. They're not out there.
Okay. Thank you, Stewart. Same question goes to Mike Wilson.
Well, first thing we have to do, and this may sound shrewd, but we have to get our numbers back up at the detention center. Our numbers have declined tremendously out there, and in order for our programs to work, we have to have the individuals out there. Of course, we don't want them out there. We want them to be productive citizens and be free and being a part of society. But unfortunately, a lot of them wind up at the detention center or in facilities. And we do want to have them ready to rejoin the society in a productive manner. I'm all for continuing helping them to get their GED or anything else we can do to prepare them, because once again, just like with our juveniles, while they're incarcerated, unfortunately, a lot of them, the mentality is still that of a juvenile. We have to try to get them to understand that, hey, you can be productive too. It's amazing, some of those guys who have been incarcerated, some of the things that they've done, and just a simple fact of saying, giving them that's nice, you did well, that goes a long way with them. And for them to come back out and be productive, I've seen it time and time again. I can count countless guys here in Natchitoches who did just that. Went in, got their GED, came back out and became productive citizens, working here and contributing to society here in Natchitoches. So yes, I certainly would like to do all that we can to prepare them for reentry back into society.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
And same question goes to Jackson Jones.
Yeah, on the inmate rehab program, I would like to see some of the less violent offenders, something like child support people that's in jail for child support. I would probably let some of those guys out if I could, some kind of way, because we need space for people that's doing traveling crime through Natchitoches. Some of the crimes against the sheriff office, if they're not doing the right patrols and they don't have a lot of visibility, those type of things. So in inmate rehab, I think I would try to get a program where they get the guys some money when they get discharged from the detention center, where they'll have some money in their pocket when they leave the detention center, and they might be able to kind of make something happen for themselves because they're not broke when they get out. So I think it's a good deal to have an inmate rehab center. The jobs in Natchitoches don't pay high fees, because like if you rent $800 a month what can $8 do for your rent? $800 for your rent every month, and you making $8 out with it, it just don't add up. So that's where I'm at with it. I like to see the inmate get something out the deal other than he spent time in jail, but he gonna need some money when he get out. So if you could give him a couple of $100, $200-300, I think that'll help things too.
Okay, Mr. Jones, thank you very much. Now, at this particular time, we're going to open the questions up to the audience. If there's a question that you feel that has not been asked, that you would like to ask yourself, I will remind you that there would not be any personal attacks on any of the candidates. There would not be any criticism. But if you have a reasonable question that you would like to ask them, then you may do so at this time. Do anyone have any questions for any of the candidates? If you would raise your hand, we'll have someone that will bring a mic to you.
We'll give 1 minute.
And each candidate would have
1 minute.
1 minute to respond.
Okay. Good evening.
Specify the candidate you want to ask.
I think this is for everyone. It's not a long question. I just need an answer. I'm Helen Ovioha. I'm the director of the Natchitoches Coalition on Homelessness here in Natchitoches. So my question to you is, do you believe that there's a homeless population here in Natchitoches Parish? And do you support transitional and reentry housing in the city of Natchitoches?
I think they may have addressed that, but if one of the candidates would like to address it again. The housing aspect?
Yes.
Okay. Do you all understand the question she's asked?
I believe I do. Yes, ma'am, we do have a homeless problem in Natchitoches. There are, I know of probably 6 people right now that are homeless in Natchitoches. And do we need somewhere for them to go? Yes, ma'am. Because outside today it's 103 or 4. They need somewhere to go. I do believe that. But as it was said earlier, that is a joint effort. That's just not something the sheriff's office can do by themselves. It is a joint effort that's going to take several entities to get done. But I would be willing to sit down at the table with you and any other entity that would want to get involved to see what we could do, because there are homeless people in the parish also, not just in the city. There are homeless people in the parish. So yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Would either one of the candidates would like to address that?
I would. I am aware that we do have several individuals here within the city limits and within the parish who could be classified as homeless. Through working at the sheriff's office, I have had the opportunity of speaking with many of these individuals and even transporting a number of them to a shelter over in Sabine Parish and so forth. A lot of these homeless individuals, unfortunately, they are faced with mental illness, which goes back to that original question that was asked earlier. And all of this goes hand in hand, and we've got to figure out a way to address all of these issues at once. It's a daunting task, but we've got to figure out a way to address all of these issues at once, and hopefully we can, bring about a change with it.
Thank you. Right.
I'll just mention this. We've had a number of the homeless people around the courthouse, and we've done everything that we could do to try to get them help. And a lot of these people they don't want help. So if we could identify the people who we can help, and we need to find housing for them, we'd be more than happy to do it. But we would go out there every day. We would bring food. We'd bring water. We would offer to bring them here. We'd offer a home. There's a place to stay. And so many of them, they really don't want that kind of help. And I think that may get into your mental illness. We are lacking big time in mental illness treatment here and everywhere else. Yes, I see these billions of dollars going for this or going for that, and I hardly see any money going for mental health treatment. That's something that would help us with the drug problem and the homeless problem.
Thank you. Ms. Helen, did that answer your question? Okay. You want to respond?
I had wanted to respond. I think it would be a good deal to have a homeless program. Also, maybe we could, some kind of way, run a soup kitchen in there where the people can come get them something to eat. I think they got a lot of stuff they need, and like I say, they got the mental people that I'd like to see the sheriff office, like in New Orleans. We used to put nets in the trunk for a violent, mental ill person, and then just throw the net on them and let them tangle themselves up and wear themselves out where you don't have to hurt them and pull your gun and none of that kind of stuff, slapstick or nothing like that. You just let them kind of wear themselves down a little bit and then take them for some treatment. I don't know the doctors around here like we used to have Dr. Seals and Dr. Cook, but...
Time, Mr.
Okay.
I thank each one of them. Would there be another question from the audience that you would like to have answered that you have not heard the answer to? If you do, will you raise your hand?
Can y'all hear me? You know, we do have a serious problem here in Natchitoches. Back in the year when Danny Hall ran against Victor Jones, and Danny Hall came up with the thing of rebuilding a rehabilitation center here in the town. Now, Victor Jones did take it over and say he was going to build one, but we never did see one. And I'm just saying to the candidates up here, the other week I called the sheriff. I told him somebody was laying out over by ShopRite in the boiling sun, eating lunch. When it raining, this lady was still out there. This woman had a mental problem. He did take care of it. But my thing of it is, when these guys get out of jail, they need a rehabilitation center here built. And we don't need no promise. We need this done, because when these guys get out of jail, I housed a man from Manning, Louisiana, was let out of jail years ago. I said, come go home with me. He used my phone. He called his people. When they let him out, they have nowhere to go. This was years ago. And you know what? It's a crying shame. We have federal money and everything else. Let's build, if we can build a dog kennel for dogs to live in, surely we can build something that people can live in and have a substantial place to get rehabilitation before they let out. A halfway house here would be a great idea for this whole city here. And we ain't trying to give you a place to live from now on, but to make sure that you are rehabilitated, go out and you can get your job and you can leave here, and wherever you come from, you can return back home.
Thank you.
Anybody want to answer that? I mean, you're free to.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the candidates that has not been answered already? We are about to wrap it up. We have another session with our parish president.
Hello. I have a small question. I was listening to what Stuart was saying. I want to ask all the candidates. How comfortable are you working with the other aspects of the criminal justice system here in Natchitoches, that is the judges and the district attorney office, in having a cohesive approach to crime and its resolutions? How willing are you to go and talk to these others as sheriff and get their input on things that might need to be done for the less offensive crimes, to stymie those, and what may need to be done in terms of apprehension and prevention of the more violent crimes?
Do either one of the candidates understand his question? Mm-hmm. Do either one of you? If you do, would you like to take a stab at answering it? Either one of you. If not, then we'll go on to the next question.
Well, I'd like to say this. There's always been a collaborative effort between the Sheriff's Office, City Police Department, Northwestern State University and the Louisiana State Police. It's unfortunate right now that crime kind of got ahead of employment. Crime just exploded, and we're playing catch up. Now, we've all come to the table, and we're all in agreement that there are things that we need to do and things that we need to do better to kind of get a hold of crime here in Natchitoches and Natchitoches Parish. I know the Sheriff's Office is committed to it, and I know the city and Northwestern and the state is committed to it. We're going to have to come back to the table and look at this again, and we're going to have to recommit ourselves to doing better, and we're going to have to do better.
Thank you. Thank you. Would either of the candidates like to respond?
I'd like to respond. I think that we need to come together as like Pizan said earlier, like a family, to work with these people. I mean, they can't do it by themselves. And a lot of times we have a situation where you don't have the money to do a lot of things that you would do extra for your kids and stuff like that, most especially if you got 4 or 5 of them running around there. And I think we need to look at teen pregnancy. And it's a lot of things that we don't have here. I'm not trying to put Natchitoches down because I've been here for 60 years. But I think that I love Natchitoches, that I would participate in any positive program throughout the community to people I know, their grandchildren, nieces and nephews and cousins. I just think that Mr. Jones. Okay.
Thank you. Would either one of you?
I'll just say one thing as far as, working with the different people at the courthouse and everything. Everybody at the courthouse gets along, believe it or not. We all have a good relationship. We've all been working together for a long time. So I think that any type of program, any type of action that somebody wants to take, you're going to have the support of everybody at the courthouse, the judges, the district attorney, obviously the sheriff's office. And so, the biggest problem has been funding for a lot of these things, and that continues to be a problem. I would hope our state legislature would look at some of these situations and help us out a bunch. They do have the money to do it, but it's one of those things that we do a great job at the courthouse getting along and trying to solve problems. Everybody listens to everybody, and everybody takes everybody's response seriously.
Thank you. Mr. Pizan.
And yes, sir, I would be willing to sit down with the district attorney and the judge and anyone else that needs to be involved to make sure that the cohesiveness of this parish continues forward, to make sure that the people that are arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced it's all followed through, that we're all on the same page for the same result, which is to make Natchitoches Parish as a whole a safer place for everyone to live and visit.
Thank you. Thank you. At this particular time, we're going to begin to wrap up the session with the sheriff candidates. We're going to allow each candidate to give a 3-minute closing remark.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Each candidate would have a 2-minute closing remark, and the first one would be Mike Wilson.
Thank you. In closing, I would just like to say it has been truly a pleasure for the last 30 years serving as a deputy sheriff here in Natchitoches Parish. I want to thank you all for being just a great parish to work in, and now I want to move on to leading the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. We have a lot of great people there, and I'm looking forward to working with them. I'm looking forward to getting back out in the various communities, meeting with the people again, going to town hall meetings, having regular meetings with individuals, keeping people abreast of what's going on in the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. I want these younger people that are coming on board to get to know people in the parish, in their areas. I'd like for them to be on first-name basis with them. That's a really good thing. It helps them out on their job. It makes people feel secure in their homes, makes their family feel secure, And that's what we want to, that's the kind of atmosphere we want to create here in Natchitoches. So I'm asking if you consider me being your sheriff. That's what I want to bring back to Natchitoches Parish: a sense of security, a better place to live, and a safer place to live for all of us. Thank you.
And thank you. The same question goes to Jackson Jones. We're going to have a wrap-up question,
Yes,
final
sir.
comments.
I like to close by saying that I'm gonna put God first on this journey with the sheriff race. It's been kind of long, but I think that we got a lot of programs that have been mentioned tonight that could be implemented if it had the right funding. And I think that Natchitoches would be a better place for the senior citizens. Most senior citizens program, that direct line I was talking about putting in through the communications department, I think it'll help a whole lot, because there's a lot of people that probably would call in that probably trusted the sheriff, whether it's me or Stewart or whoever. But I think that's where we at right now. That's about all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Stuart Wright, closing remarks.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve you for the last 3 years as sheriff. We have done a lot of things. I have a lot of things that I plan to do in the next 4 years. We have, and we can sum most of this up, because as far as crime is concerned, we have a juvenile problem. We have a juvenile problem because we have no consequences to anything that these kids do. We arrest them, we bring them down to the office, we call their mom, and you usually can't find the mom, so we call the grandmother comes down, and we have to release this child to the grandmother, and 30 minutes later, they're back out doing the same thing they were doing before because they have no consequences. This has got to stop. It can't continue. These kids know that how the system works, and they're working the system real good. So we have got to address the juvenile problems before we can do anything else. I was checking some of the stats. Back in 2020, we had like, let's see, 315 juvenile complaints. In 21, we had 407. In 22, we had 613 juvenile complaints. And you can see the trend. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. As far as the sheriff's office and what we have done, I mean, we have handled our business the way it ought to be handled. We have everything, deputies have everything that they need to do their job. We just need to get the legislature and the state to do their job so that it'll make it a little bit easier on us, and so that if we need to, we can actually maybe find a facility or to put some of these bad kids in. We have 3 beds at Ware Youth Facility, 3 beds. That's all we have. If we are gonna incarcerate one of these juveniles, we have to send them to Mississippi or to Alabama. It's just not workable. It's not workable. But it's been a really challenging and a rewarding time of my life. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our final candidate, Mr. Steve Pizant, closing remarks.
If I'm humbled enough to be elected sheriff of Natchitoches Parish, I will be here to serve everyone. And it doesn't matter where you live, what walk of life you're from. That doesn't bother me. I want everybody to be treated fair and equal. And I do want to address the problems that we have with juveniles and with adult crime. I mean, we do have problems. But with that being said, you will see me out and about riding around. I will be in the office, but I will be out riding around. I'll readily admit I'm not an office person. I can't stay in office all day. So you will see me out riding around. You will see me at various events, and we'll have an open door, because I want everybody to talk to me. I don't care if you're the newest deputy or you the oldest person in Natchitoches Parish. It doesn't bother me. I want you to come up and tell me what the problems are, what needs to be changed, what do you see that needs to be addressed in this parish to make this place a safer place for all of us to live, for our kids to grow up in, so that hopefully the juvenile problem will, I ain't gonna say take care of itself, but we'll be able to start taking care of itself, because our crime problem does start with the juveniles. And like I say, if I'm humbled enough to be your sheriff, I will be everyone's sheriff. And as I said before, I'm not here running against anyone. I am running for the office of sheriff.
Thank you, Steve. I think we need to give him a round of applause. And I say that because I worked at the sheriff's office for 34 years, and it takes courage to put on a uniform, leave your house, leave your family behind, not knowing whether you're going to get back home or not. All these guys has experience in law enforcement. I thank you for your courage. We wish you all good luck, and thanks again for coming. And thank you all, the audience, for being fair. There was no personal attacks. It was nice. So we thank each one of you. At this particular time, we're going to dismiss our sheriff candidates, and we're going to take a short intermission, and we're going to bring up the parish council presidents.
What's going on?
How y'all doing? Sorry, brother. Hey, brother, I'll take you some pictures.
We don't get, let's get 20.
Let me just announce. Let me have your attention, please. We have 2.5 minutes before the next forum starts. So will you settle in your seats, and we're going to ask the candidates to come and take the podium, please. Parish president candidates. Ladies, is the mic hot? You got hot mic? Excuse me. We are about to start the next forum, so would you please come in and have your seats?
And one, and then back to two.
3 or 4.
We're going to need your undivided attention because we want to give these candidates the same piece of quiet we had in the beginning. We want to thank you all again for coming. We want to thank our candidates for being here. We're going to give each one of our candidates 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Is it 2 or 3? What did we say?
3 minutes starting off.
3 minutes to introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll have a question same question for each one of you, and it'll be 2 minutes. So right now, we're going to ask each one of you to introduce yourself, and we'll start with John Salter and go down the line. John Salter.
You may start.
I'm John D. Salter. I live in Provincetown, Louisiana. I've been in this parish for 76 years. When I take office in January, I'll be 77. I've been waiting on this since 1992. I was born to J.D. and Leola Salter. J.D. served in the police jury, and his daddy James F. served before him, police jury. We've all served as presidents. I married Virginia Presley from Flora, Louisiana. Rodney, I got it right. 48 years ago. We've been in here ever since we got married. We don't have any kids. I'm retired. I'm going to be a full-time president for the people in Natchitoches Parish. So I'll just stop right there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. The next one will be Latoria.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Democratic Committee for allowing us to have this time to speak to the public. And then I also want to thank the audience for being here. Now, the first thing I want to say is I am not a public speaker. I am a writer. So I did make a lot of notes here, but I'm just going to talk from the heart. So I have one son, Ontario Pierce, my husband here, James Freeman. I'm originally from Natchitoches. I'm a Natchitoches native. I learned my core values here in Natchitoches. I decided to leave here when I was 19 years old, but I did decide I wanted to come back home. I wanted to do something for this community. I didn't know what that something was, but I would say that I was literally pushed into this job or to want to do this job because I want to do something for this community and bring about a change. It's time, and I want to see Natchitoches move forward, and I think I'm the woman to do the job.
Thank you, Latoria. Scott.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? I'm Scott Stetson. I am not from here. I am not a long-haul Natchitoches resident. My family and I moved here in 2013 after spending 10 years in 75th Ranger Regiment under the Joint Special Operations Command umbrella and 9 combat deployments. We decided it was time to shift gears towards retirement and closing the end of a 23-year military career. So I spent 2 years here teaching here at Northwestern State University in the senior ROTC program, where I began to really have a firm understanding of some of the problems that plague Natchitoches Parish as a whole. I retired in 2015. I immediately went to work for the corporate sector within DoD contracts, managing Peace and Ridge, the live fire range that makes everybody's houses shake and go boom down in the southern end of the parish. I was responsible for that, and I apologize for the disturbances. I soon found myself graduating through the ranks into a project management role, a program management role, and a program director, where I managed contracts not just for Fort Johnson, i.e. Fort Polk, as well as an international portfolio with contracts in Lithuania, Republic of Georgia, and Romania. I have been tailored in skills to write proposals, seek out revenue sources, and pursue opportunities with a business mindset, all of which I think would be significantly beneficial to Natchitoches Parish as a whole when it comes to addressing the infrastructure issues that we face each and every day. I'm authentic, and I want to remain authentic and accessible in who I am as a candidate, and I want to stay focused on the problems we have as a whole, because it's not just roads. We have villages who have been denied funding for their water system, and we have phone companies which are not replacing cell phone towers or installing hardline phones in new builds in the southern end of the parish. However, I believe with the right team that can be built, which I am versed in leadership and team building skills, that we can get things taken care of and at least started in the right direction, or a better direction.
Thank you. Thank you. And next candidate, John Richmond.
Good evening. What a privilege it is to be here. Thanks again. I saw you guys 4 years ago. It's been a privilege to get to know a whole lot of you over the last 4 years. It's my privilege, as I said, to be here tonight and to be your Natchitoches Parish president. I'd like to be reelected. There's a lot of things that we've done. There's also a lot of things that are still yet to be done, a lot of hard work. It doesn't start easy. No decisions that get to the president's desk are easy. They all require a lot of work. My wife Kathy and I moved here in 2011. We bought a piece of property here, and we started the transition process of getting up here. We often tell people we weren't born here, but we got here as quick as we could. We love it here. This is home until God calls us home. We have 3 kids, Brad, Derek, and Jenna. They're all grown. We're empty nesters. We love Natchitoches Parish. We love the people in Natchitoches Parish, and it's an honor and a privilege to work for the people of Natchitoches Parish. It's been a great 3+ years. I've had the opportunity to work inside the courthouse. More importantly, I've had the opportunity through the pandemic, through the hurricanes, through the ice storms, to be a leader and to break down the silos that we once had in this parish, along with good people who are in leadership positions, whether that's at the hospital, in the sheriff's department, almost anywhere through every organization. We came together through those things in those trying times, and it's been a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate every moment of it, and I'm proud to be your president.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we would remind everyone to turn your cell phones off, and we will open this up for question. We would have 1 question for each candidate. It would be the same question, and we would go in different orders. You would have 2 minutes to respond to the question. The first question will be, what qualifications do you think the parish president should have? And we will start with John Richmond and go back this other way.
It's a great question. Quite often I get asked, what do you have to do to be president? The qualifications as they're defined in the Home Rule Charter are pretty simple. You just have to be a resident of the parish for more than a year. You have to be over the age of, I think it's 35, and it might not even be 35. But the real qualifications are you've got to be qualified to be a good businessman, a good manager. You've got to manage crisis. You've got to manage the good times. You've got to manage the bad times. You've got to be a people person. You've got to get out there. You've got to shake hands. You've got to drink iced tea on front porches, and you've got to meet people where they are. You can't say, come to the courthouse and see me. You got to go see them. I agree with a lot of the things you've heard tonight. You got to get in your truck and you got to go. And a lot of times what you'll see when you go are bad roads, bad water systems, and families that are struggling. So what you've got to have more than anything is compassion and empathy and a willingness to work until you drop. That's what you got to do.
Thank you. Same question will go to Scott.
The qualifications that I believe will set a parish president up for success is having a background or a good working knowledge of program management, proposal or grant writing, which are both very paralleled in nature. But above all, I think it comes down to building teams and collaboration with entities outside the parish government in order to garner interest in bringing in sources of revenue, i.e. new businesses, new opportunities into the parish that will help grow that infrastructure through tax dollars as a whole. And having someone that can work through the differences and has led diverse teams in the past, those are all very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Latoya.
Okay, for me, I would answer that question, and I would say that the main thing that I think that it needs here is just to have a love for this community and that's what I have. I want to see this community do better. And if that's going to take me, a female, a black female, or whoever, I have to work with everybody as a whole, not a certain race. So I'm here, I'm speaking it straight from my heart. I want to see Natchitoches move forward. And it's different when you have something to lose. For me, there's something to lose is my family, my children, or my son, my children's children. And I look at kids being killed or the fighting. Our kids, they don't have anything to do here. I moved here and I've been here almost 2 years now, and it's killings on a daily basis, sometimes a weekly basis, but it's always something going on. We have to look out for the next generation, not just what's going on here, whether or not we can get along or not get along. We have to do something for the next generation.
Thank you, Latoya. John? Same question.
In my opinion, the qualification for a president is to get to know all the people in Natchitoches Parish. We got 5 or 6 facets of people in this parish. Nobody thinks alike. Nobody's needs are alike. So the first thing you got to do is get to know your people. When I ran for police jury the first time, I had no idea that I wanted to do that. I went down the road one day and broke some springs on my horse trailer, and I asked the guy, I said, who is y'all police jury down here? And he told me, and I said, well, he lives right by me, I can run. So that was in 1988. So I got out and got talking to people, and I won that election in 91, took office in 92. The next thing, the police jury was actually established to build roads and dams and get people to town to be able to buy groceries and come to the bank and do their business. But now we've probably got at least 30 functions that we have to take care of, but the reason that's what it was. In my background in roads, I've been building roads all my life. I've had my own equipment. I've got thousands of hours on seat time on graders, dozers. I'm retired from the Teamsters Union. I carry a CDL Class A. I've had one ever since we was required to. I know what to do to get our road back. Right now, we hear a lot about infrastructure, and we hear a lot about economic development. You can't develop a parish if you can't get to the places you're trying to develop. We got people all over this United States that's got property here in Natchitoches, and they pay taxes. They've never been here. They show up the first time looking for their property. Well, councilman, parish president, who's the first one they're going to call? Where's my place? How do I get to it? It's supposed to be a road there, you know. So anyway, my major concern is going to... Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The second question is, what is your knowledge of the duties of the parish president? And John Salter, we will begin with you and go the other way.
Okay, I was elected 4 times to the police jury, Ronnie. I served 3 terms as president, working with the office staff, administrator. The first man or woman that you want to get to know real good is the treasurer, because they got the money, and they can tell you, and a good treasurer, an honest treasurer can make or break you. Your people that works in your office staff, Catherine Hamilton was one of the best. She was actually the police jury the whole time I worked up there, but she decided to go home. But you got to be able to know. You can't see W.T. Murphy Road and Reedheimer from that office. I'm planning on having a mobile office. If you want to talk to me, you just call. I'll be to see you. Me and my assistant, and more than likely my public work director. We're going to be on the road every day somewhere. We're going to be working off of a work schedule, and you'll be able to pull that work schedule up on your phone anytime. You'll know when your work's going to be performed. And if it hadn't been, it would be only because we have deviated to an emergency situation somewhere. I'll hold up now and let somebody else talk a while.
All right, thank you, John. Same question to you, Latoya.
Can you repeat
What is your knowledge of the duties of the parish president?
Okay, the duties of the parish president, I know we have to get out and talk to the people. The parish president works for the people. Parish president is voted in by the people. So my first thing is I need to get out and find out what's wrong. I can't fix what I don't know. So I have to get out, talk to people, see what the issues are. Then I need to have an advisory committee, someone that's gonna come in and recommend certain things, and then I can present that to the council for vote. So that's my biggest thing. And then I need to work with the personnel. I need to make sure I have the right people in. I'm only as good as my team. So if I get the right people in, I believe we can all win in this together. So that's the main thing for me.
Thank you, Latoya. Same question goes to Scott. What is your knowledge of the duties of the parish president?
The Home Rule Charter states in the first introduction of the parish president that the parish president is the chief executive officer of the parish. That being said, the secondary to that, within the authority of the parish president, is to veto or approve ordinances that the council proposes within a specific time frame. I can't quote it verbatim. However, I believe it prudent to recognize that as chief executive officer of the parish, you're not going to fix roads without getting with Ms. Lyles back there and coordinating with Louisiana Central and finding opportunities of businesses that want to move here that we can help find that infrastructure without pursuing grants and from the federal level and working with vendors, as Mr. Peasant said the other night, that are within the parish, running the transportation industry and developing a case study to propose to the federal government why we need immediate grant approval for infrastructure so we can start moving these businesses in here. You cannot think linearly and that taxes will fix the solution because our tax structure is just not equipped to deal with what we are facing in Natchitoches Parish.
Thank you, Scott. And on to John.
Yeah, exactly what Scott said, where he started off as the CEO. You are the chief executive officer. The buck stops at your desk. It stops at the seat of your truck. It stops whenever you get out and you visit with people. It stops when you go to Baton Rouge and you have to be an ambassador and an advocate for the people of Natchitoches Parish. We've heard many things mentioned, working with the Chamber of Commerce, working with the federal level, working with the state level. Those are all things that happen on a daily basis, and they're going on right now. Those are things that happen more than a daily basis. The phone doesn't stop ringing. I've learned one thing about being in an office like this. The phone rings at 10 o'clock at night. It'll ring at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you answer it. If you don't answer it, it better be because you're on a phone call talking to somebody else trying to get a business to relocate here or trying to get some federal or state funds so that you can build a better infrastructure and you can build a better place for businesses that may want to come here and don't know it yet. But a big part of that and the duties is those three letters, CEO. If you're going to run it, you got to run it like a business. You can't run it with any deficit spending. It's not allowed by law or by the Home Rule Charter. You can't go spend things you don't have. And when the tax money's gone, that's whenever you start looking for things like grants. You start looking for cooperative endeavor agreements. You partner with other entities, which are all things that we've done over the last 3 years.
Thank you, John. The next question for our panel is, what experience in your past do you have to serve as president? And we would start with John Salter. What experience in your past do you have to serve as parish president?
Yeah, like I told you a while ago, I served as president of the police jury 3 different times, 3 different years. I've been elected twice to the council. I've served as chairman 3, 4 times, I don't know how many. I've run my own business, and I'll agree with Richmond, it's got to be run by like a business, but I'm not in business anymore, and I don't have an extensive college education, but I can count, I can multiply, I can subtract, I can add. And like I said, the man that's got the money is the one you got to get. And as far as grants, we tried that for years. You get some little small grants, but we're going to have to think on a bigger scale than grants. We've got to get the people to know that we're going to do what we're going to do, and they will bring us some money. And we got to get with our people in Washington, D.C. to give us back federal aid. We can't do it by ourselves. But if I'm elected president, I'm gonna show you how these roads can be fixed, and I think the people in Natchitoches Parish will be willing to help us with anything we need. Okay?
Okay. All right, thank you, John. Latoya, what experience in your past do you have to serve as parish president?
Well, I will start off by saying I have multiple LLCs. I have a successful incorporation. I am a CEO/founder of a nonprofit organization. And then I also, the one I'm most proud of, I'm the CEO/founder of an MC/social club, which that I had multiple chapters in Dallas, Houston, and Baton Rouge. And so with that, I created the charter for them, and I also implemented the bylaws. So I think with that, along with my current profession, I'm a clinical investigator. So I investigate doctors for fraud, waste, and abuse. So with that, I believe that experience alone will be what this parish needs.
Thank you, Latoya. Scott, same question. What experience in your past do you have to serve as parish president?
Well, I've got over 35 years of leadership experience spanning both from the military as well as the corporate sector, which requires team building across a diverse environmental set and a diverse set of people. Requires collaboration, it requires out-of-the-box thinking, it requires understanding that I do not know everything. And it's important to seek out the experts which do, which includes the people that are experiencing the adversity right there on the ground. I also have the business experience when it comes to being able to tie people together and make and build relationships that I believe will benefit the parish as a whole. I have the intestinal fortitude to address the problem at its root. If we're being ignored by the state, I have no issues going straight to the state. I have no issues going straight to the government. At the end of the day, the worst thing they can do is tell me no, but it doesn't mean I need to stop trying.
Thank you, Scott. And John, should be easy for you. What experience in your past do you have to serve as parish president?
Well, I've got 3 years of being parish president, but beyond that, more than 30 years working in business, in construction, with large projects. Let me define that a little bit for you. Where I worked before, I worked as an executive vice president for one of the only Fortune 500 companies that were ever here in Louisiana. Loved everything I did, but I also loved the idea of getting back to my small town roots and coming home to Louisiana. I worked out of Baton Rouge, but I got on an airplane every Monday, and I traveled and managed up to 36 projects that went from Maine to California, Oregon to Florida, northern to the Canadian border, in fact, one over in Toronto, and down to the southern Gulf Coast, all at one time. That's what we did. We managed over $1 billion worth of work, and I say we because it was me and 5 other guys. We had a great time doing a lot of hard work. There are no easy decisions. I sat on the corporate risk committee for the Shaw Group, the company I work for, and let me tell you what that means. Any job that was over $5 million required my signature. And it also required my risk evaluation. During the Afghan war, I was the one who had to sign off on projects. Whenever we talk about being willing to make hard decisions, try sitting at a desk and deciding how many snipers you've got to hire so you can minimize the casualties to the truck drivers who are building 75 miles of gravel road through the Afghani mountains. That's the kind of stuff we did. Coming here doesn't make it any easier just because it's a smaller parish. Everything here affects real people that you see every day in the supermarket and Walmart, on the streets, at the gas station. They affect your friends. They affect your family. Everything about business and everything about government is about risk. Is the risk worth the reward? And I'm going to tell you, the people of Natchitoches are worth a huge reward, but I'm not willing to risk everything for them. Whenever we go to Baton Rouge, whenever we go to the federal government, they know who we are because we talk to them daily.
Thank you, John. The next question for each one of you is, we realize we have a lot of problems in the parish, but if you are elected, what are your top priorities and why? And we begin with Scott.
My number one priority would be building a case study so that we can propose a decision point and lobby with the transportation vendors that are within the parish already and show a maintenance case study of how much it's costing Amazon, how much it's costing UPS, FedEx, USPS, and all the people that it takes to deliver services, as well as our EMS, ambulances, work with the sheriff's office as well, and the city, to showcase how much money is going out in our public service and infrastructure services departments just to maintain a quality of life that we have currently right now with the roads the way they are. That would be my #1 priority.
Thank you, Scott. LaToya, same question.
Okay, for the top priorities, I would say the first thing I would need to do is do a complete audit. I have to know where we are in order to say where we're going. And once I know where the money is, where it's being spent, or the contracts that we have in place, is it spread out through the community or going to certain sections of the community, I have to do all of that first so I know where we're starting at. And then from there, I do know the roads, that's very important, but our children in this area is important as well. So economic development, that's extremely important for me. So I think we need to look at different things. Once a complete audit is done, then I'll kind of have an idea of where we need to go. So I could say a lot of words that sound good, but I really need to know where we are before I can say where we're going.
Thank you, LaToya. John Salter, same question. If you were elected president, what would be your top priority for the parish?
I'm going right back to the parish roads, economic development. You can't develop something. I hear economic development, we're going to sell Natchitoches. I don't want, Natchitoches Parish is not for sale. We got to take care of what we've already got before we start doing other things. And right now, that's not being done. It's nobody's fault. It's just not, we don't have the qualified people that we need doing the things that we need to do. But my priority for this will always be the parish roads. And all the money that comes in for parish roads is meant to spend on District 40, which is everything outside the city limits of Natchitoches. There's no money that comes in here for Natchitoches, but I do intend to work with our mayor and the council here at where they meet. We got some things we can do to help one another. So we're going to be looking at those different things that we can do. But it'll always be roads for me as far as top priority for parish. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And final is
five priorities, super simple. Roads, water systems, schools and education, and housing. And then jobs are the result of all those getting better. You want jobs, you need better roads. You want jobs, you need water systems. You want housing, people have to have water systems. You want a great education system, you got to have a safe house with good, clean, potable water for those kids to go home to. We have third world problems in this first world kind of mentality here in our parish. We think what we need, and it's a lot of lofty goals, and it's right, I want us to have all those, but it all starts at the basics. It's roads, it's water systems, it's schools, it's housing, and it's jobs. Jobs are not the first thing. Jobs are the results of some of those things looking attractive to people who want to be in our place, in this place. I agree with Mr. Salter. Natchitoches Parish is not for sale, but what it is it's open for business. Natchitoches Parish is open for business, and if anybody's listening across the internet, we want you here. We want to work with you to make it a great place for you. We want to work with the city. We want to work inside the parish, inside the city limits, and all our other municipalities. We don't just sit there and worry about the unincorporated parts of the parish. We look out for everyone. There's 37,500 people in this parish, roughly, and they all deserve a good education. They all deserve housing over their head, good, clean, potable water. They deserve to have jobs that pay a good prevailing wage.
Thank you, John. The next question for each candidate is that we realize that one of the major problems, that you stated it, is our road situation. Would you support another tax on the ballot for road improvements? And if so, how would you get it done? And the first question will go to John Salter.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. The first thing I'm going to do is prove to people what can be done. And at some point, if I put a plan out there and just ask the people of Natchitoches Parish if they want to support this, and they do, they feel like it, I've got a plan in place, You can't build a house without a plan. You gotta even draw something on a paper sack. And in the past, every time somebody, they just want some more money. They don't give anybody a plan. But I'll give a plan, but first I'm gonna prove what can be done. I've waited, like I said, 30 years for this opportunity, and I'm fixing to show Natchitoches Parish what can be done. And I would support one if the people wants to do it. It would have to be a short-term sales tax. I don't believe in property taxes. That's the most unfair tax, and I would support a sales tax if the people of Natchitoches Parish wanted to try it.
Thank you, John. Latoya, same question.
Okay, for today, I would have to say no to that. Because for one thing, I want to prove to Natchitoches Parish that I can handle and manage what we have before I go back and ask you guys for more money. So if I can't handle that, why am I still digging in the parish's pockets? So allow me to prove that first. Let me go back and do, like he said, a case study or something, a complete audit to see where we are. That's the beginning. That's where I need to go. I'm not going to even mention a tax right now because I don't know where we are. So I'm not going to make up something that sounds good. I'm just telling you straight from my heart. I would say no for now.
Thank you, Latoya. Same question to you, Scott.
Thank you. I want to start off. So that case study idea came out in a conversation. It's actually Steve Pizant's idea, so don't be thinking it's mine. I'm just expounding on it and growing it and making use of it. And I believe in giving credit where credit is due. But absolutely not when it comes to taxes. The way tax structure is here in this parish, it unfairly burdens people on purchasing the necessities to survive, and that is wrong. You should not be having to pay 10% of your income to buy groceries, especially when you're barely making enough to get by. I believe that the answers when it comes to the use of our tax dollars is going to lie in how a contract is created, the expectations laid forth in the contract for vendors who would get the reward to lay the road, and ensuring that a maintenance option year was built in for at least the first 2 years with additional option years built 4 years out for the vendors to be able to be awarded to maintain these roads so they're not just laying asphalt on top of asphalt and walking away so it deteriorates in a year. This way we can hold these vendors accountable for our tax dollars that is being spent on these contracts, and we will not have to suffer constant millages and taxes going through the police jury or the council. I apologize.
Thank you, Scott. John.
Good question. Roads are an issue. Sales tax is an issue. I am not in favor of any new taxes, period. I think the people, especially in the sales tax realm, I think that the people of Natchitoches Parish, I know, we have the highest sales tax if you look at it as cumulative with the state and the local in the nation. Think about that. In a poor parish, you have the highest sales tax. What Scott said is exactly right. You're paying 10% of every dollar for the privilege of spending the dollar. Okay, once you address that and you get back to roads, how are you going to do that? What are you going to do to get more money? I'll tell you what we've done. These are a lot of great ideas, but what we did was we established cooperative endeavors with the Cane River Waterway Commission. We've gone after grants. We just got another grant this week for Independence and American Way, which is out 494 on the left-hand side there, $800,000 to totally redo those roads. We've gotten grants from the Community Block Grant Group to help with our water systems. Those are things we do on a daily basis. We've heard the words audit. Let me tell you, we audit every year, and we come back clean every year. The results of those audits are online. You can click one link and look at anything you want to see in any department of your parish government. We even issue our check register every month to all the council people and anyone else who wants it. You want to see where every dollar goes? All it takes is a little work, sit and burn the midnight oil and see where every check cut goes and exactly how much it was and what it was for. That's what we do. That's accountability. Fixing the roads is part of the accountability too, and to make this very quick and to get back to the problem of roads, it all starts with, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to pay the price? And when the people of Natchitoches Parish say they don't want new taxes, as the administrator, the CEO of the parish, your job is to say, we respect that, we understand that, we will take every dollar you give us and make the best use of it.
Thank you very much. The next question to each candidate would be, are you in favor of term limits or against? Explain your answer. And this time we will begin with Latoya.
I would say I'm not in favor of the term limits. If you get someone in office that's doing the job and can do the job, I think we're okay with that. Now, I also believe that if you're in there and you're not doing the job, or we're not seeing things accomplished, that you need to leave. So for that, I would say no.
Okay, same question to you, Scott.
Are you speaking on the municipality or just?
I'm talking to parish president. Would you be in favor of term limit for parish president? If so, why?
I believe that term limits are integral to preserving the best interests of a community. And I bring this from my military experience. We change leadership positions every few years in the military, and we do this because you can get very linear in your thinking. And if you're not challenged with a new environment and new surroundings, then you tend to make some mistakes or have oversights that can cost your overall purpose of your position. So as a CEO with such an important position, if you do 3 terms, that's 12 years. If that's a significant amount of time to contribute to the forward progress of this municipality. And I believe that it would benefit the community as a whole to have someone move out after their 3rd term. And
Thank you. Same question to you, John.
I have the same opinion, but a different perspective, and I'll tell you why. I do believe in term limits. I specifically believe in term limits in this position. It's limited to 3 terms. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run for this term, and this will be my 2nd term, and I'll be leaving, and I'll tell you why. Because at the 10-year mark, you're available for full paid medical. Why don't I stay? Why don't I take advantage of that? I think there's bigger fish to fry for the parish than to worry about my medical cost. It's going to hurt my family, but I'm going to do that. I'm not going to accept that benefit. It also limits your retirement. After you've served, I think it's 7 years, you can get a small amount of your salary, very small, as a retirement. I'm not going to serve 12 years. I'm not going to burden the retirement system with that. I'll be 62 years old, which I think is still a very young man, and given the amount of gray hair in the room, I think you do too. Time to go out and get some other work done, but I plan to stay very involved in the parish. But I think term limits are important. I think that 8 years is probably a better thing for this position because you can get stuck. You can get stuck in your way of thinking. You can get stuck in a rut, and not just a rut in a road, a rut in your policy making. And people need to see that change in leadership. They need to know that there's vibrant young people coming into the system. So I make you this promise right here. It won't be a problem worrying about me and term limits at 12 years. This term, I'm getting it done. I'm going back to work for you in another capacity that doesn't cost the taxpayers a dime.
Thank you, John. Mr. Salter, same question. Do you in favor of term limits?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think Mr. Richmond has made a mistake. I don't know if he's ever read the Home Rule Charter, but the president is term limited to 2 terms. The council is 3. Have you ever checked?
You are correct.
I know I am.
Correct.
And I know. That's one of the big problems with this Home Rule Charter. I don't think anybody that's on the council besides me and maybe James Kilcorn has read the dadgum thing. Nobody don't even know what's going on. Yeah, I will. Mr. Lemus Page, he was on this police jury when I got elected and became real close friends. He didn't really care for me, but he respected me, and I loved him, and I respected him too. But the man passed away, and we appointed his son to fill his place, and he'd been here 30 years, and now he is gone because of a term limit. And the man has been effective. This is Chris Page I'm talking about. He'd been effective the whole time. He'd been a warrior, just like his daddy was. But as far as I'm concerned, 3 terms on that council is enough, and what I want to do is get the young people of Natchitoches Parish interested in what's going on, and I can't do it to save my life. We're talking about rehabilitation and all this. We got to get our young people into this. Like I said, I'm 76 years old. I'm in good health. I don't have any problems. I told my wife the other day, I said, I liked older women, and I said, now I got one. I said, she's 65, so everything's getting along pretty good at the house, but man got to take some time when he gets a little bit older, you know, and try to spend some time with his family. That's great. Thank you, Ronnie.
All right, thank you, John. Thank you. Our next and final question that will be coming from the Democratic Action Committee. We know that.
She didn't.
Yeah,
Everybody did.
I did first, yeah.
I got a check mark. I'm keeping up with it to make sure. I don't know about accused me of being unfair.
I got so enveloped in Mr. Salter's comments. I apologize.
Our last question will be, we realize that funding is in short supply, especially in Natchitoches Parish. We have tried to pass several taxes on the ballot. They have failed practically every time. But we know that services in the parish has to continue. What are your plans to continue the service that we need without a tax? And we will begin with John.
Well, I would go back. I've never been in favor of tax in my life. I've always said they won't fail. I mean, if they won't pass, they're going to fail. But just like you said, if you're going to provide a service, it's got to be paid for with a tax. And I don't believe in property taxes. Mike Henry, the DA, was here. That's the only thing we ever agreed on, that was the most unfair tax that ever was. But you got to prove to people that you're going to spend the money. You got to give them a plan. You got to give them actually, you need to give them a contract between the parish government or the police jury or whatever the form of government, and say, if it's not done, well, I'll spend 30 days in an electric chair, whatever, you know, or whatever. Yeah, I will be in favor, but it's going to have to be the people coming to me and say, we would like to get, at least give you this much for 24 months and see if it's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you, John. LaToya.
Repeat that question.
We know that there is a shortage of funds. There's never enough money to go around to get our projects done. Since the tax has been put on the ballot several times and they've all failed, what are your plans to continue to finance the expenses that the parish has? What are your plans to continue or generate revenue to continue the service that the parish needs?
Okay, the first thing I will come up with, well, hopefully, I think this may have already been on the table before, but revenue sharing with the city, possibly. Mayor Ronnie Williams, if he's in here, that's a possibility. And then I like what Mr. Richmond did with the Cane River Water Commission, having them help do projects, fix the roads. And maybe there's other opportunities out there that we can possibly get some help to get some stuff done. If we bring in some new businesses, economic development, we can work and hire some grant writers. And then there's also state funds, revenue from there, federal. We can go out, if we're prepared before that money is available, we can go ahead and submit those applications for that money when it does become available. So I just think we need to kind of prioritize what's needed and then prepare for it. So when it's available, we can go ahead and submit it and get those monies.
Thank you, LaToya. Same question for you, Scott.
My plan initially is to find out where it's needed most. You know, we have EMS services that can't get to folks to help them. So getting in and going to the fire district meetings and figuring out where we're having the most trouble in the parish, where it poses the most risk to life, limb, or injury, I think is prudent, so I can establish a good priority list. And then based off that, I can work with other agencies. You know, you mentioned the mayor. I would love to collaborate on potential use of assets, doing a use agreement and figuring out maintenance functions between the equipment that you may have if we have people that may require services that can fall within your purview when it comes to graders, et cetera. Working with forestry down in the southern portion of the parish. and having them assist with some of the parish roads that may need to be grading, establishing a rotational cycle with that, and then not letting it fall to the wayside. I also mentioned with the Cane River Waterway, that was an excellent idea. There are, and then obviously the companies that are using these roads that are contributing to their deteriorated factor, working with those agencies as well. You know, Royal Martin, I've seen them, I don't know at how many parish council meetings assisting. You know, they've got skin in the game too. If they can't get down these roads, they can't make money. So you got to work with these agencies and figure out how to best leverage them to your advantage. And then, I mean, we're a team. We're all in the same environment. You know, what affects my neighbor affects me, and you all are my neighbors. And so we can work together on this, and we can find ways to help each other.
Okay, Scott and John, same question.
Those are all great ideas. So great that they're all going on right now.
Yeah.
Quietly, behind the scenes, the folks that are in the timber industry, they work with us to repair their roads that they damage. They've poured hundreds of thousands of tons of material into our parish roads over the last 3 years. Part of that has to do with a monitoring system and a permitting system to know who's on the roads and who's supposed to be and who's allowed to be. Are they overweight or are they underweight? Are they hauling to the right place? Are they hauling in the route that you all described that you would do? Nothing's worse than watching somebody overweight in their truck, 100,000 plus pounds sometimes, tearing up a poor old dirt road down in the Lena Flatwoods area that's nothing but gumbo clay anyway, because GPS took them that way. That's a great idea. We're already doing it. Working with the city, I am privileged to say that Mayor Ronnie Williams has been a wonderful guy to work with. On a weekly, if not daily basis, we touch base. He's literally right across the street. A lot of times we don't even pick up the phone. We walk across the street and we meet about important issues. We share equipment whenever we need be. In the case of emergencies, water breaks, whatever that takes place, we're all in this together. Natchitoches, the city, you are part of the Natchitoches Parish, and you are governed by the Natchitoches Parish government also. And so you are important. You're right at 50% of the population of the whole parish. To only worry about the rural parts is to discount your value. Not going to happen. We don't do that. Glad to have a mayor I can talk to and work with. With the Cane River Waterway Commission and the timber industry, even Alliance Compressor, they've all been transparent. They tell us whenever they have issues. They come to us. Every form of industry in the parish has an open door in our office, but more importantly, they have this. They all have my cell phone number. I very rarely take a call in my office. Usually it's whenever Mr. Salter calls and they patch him through, but he calls my cell phone too. This is how we do it.
Thank you, John. That completes the questions that we had from our panel. Now we're going to open the question up for the audience. If there is someone in the audience that would like to answer a question that has not been asked, we're going to give you an opportunity.
Right here, you have 1 minute to respond.
And the candidate would have 1 minute. But let me remind each of you, we are not here to make personal attacks on our candidates. If you have a question that has not been answered and you would like to have answered, you have an opportunity.
Just a question I got follow up. You know, what would y'all do to change the image of the parish government? And we don't have our own policy.
What are we, who's first?
Either one of you. You can go in either order. John, you want to start?
Did you ask what would I do to change the image of the parish government?
And we have open door policy?
Oh, yeah, always. Just like I said, the work schedule is going to be out there for people to view on their phone, their computer. They'll know where everything's at. They don't have to call somebody and say, was this been put down? Yeah, I put it down, but is it on schedule? I don't know. We're going to be real transparent, and I'm going to be out there on the road every day with a mobile office. I'm not going to be sitting over there. I'm like one of the sheriff candidates said, I'm not going to be cooped up. I'm going to take the office to the people. They ain't got to come up here. Yeah, I'm going to change the image of it, let everybody know what's going on.
Thank you, John. Would either one of you like to?
For me, I would say that an open door policy is a must. We have to rebuild this community. We have to allow the citizens to start trusting the government again. We have to bridge that gap. I want you to trust me and see exactly what's going on. Transparency, nothing hidden. And I believe with changing the image, when I moved here, it was blacks, whites, Hispanics. We all got along. That's what I saw. But for whatever reason, I started seeing a change with the government that we have in place. Now, I kind of see a division. I'm not seeing a unity anymore. And that's what we need. That's going to build this community back up together with that alone.
Thank you, LaToya. Scott, would you like to answer?
Yes. This one, I'm glad you asked that question, as it personally affects me on why or how I would change. I believe it's the culture of communication and coming from a place of authenticity. I personally experienced the parish government making a decision to grind a road up that I was paying full taxes on that property at the time because we hadn't moved out there yet, and I was not notified. It took me driving to that property and seeing my road ground up to discover that. I didn't get a vote in what happened to my own infrastructure. And I think it's important to highlight things like that because at the end of the day, that's where we lose trust as a governing body is we fail to communicate decisions we've made, which we believe were in the best interests of the people affected. And the decision may not change, but a phone call would have been nice, at least, at a minimum. You know, here's the decision that was made, here's why it was made. I believe we owe that to each other, especially if we're making decisions.
Thank you, Scott. John Richmond, would you care to respond?
Open door policy will continue, absolutely. If anything, the door rarely closes. So to say we have an open door policy is a little bit of a misnomer. I don't know what it was before, but in the last 3 years, that door stays open. That phone rings all day. Transparency is what we are. Anybody that calls, just today I got a call from some council people. They wanted some information. Told them where to get it, but I also said we'll work on it and we'll get that taken care of for you. If you want it, it's yours. Our job as government is to, any tax dollars and authority you put to us, we've got to give it back to you. And hopefully short order, keeping only enough for not a rainy day, but an emergency situation. So I think what we need to do here is understand that absolutely there's an open door policy. And the second part of your question, Michael, what was that besides that?
We're just talking about the image of it, you know how.
The image, thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
That's time.
I won't answer that.
Thank you. Thank you. Was there any other questions from the audience that has not been asked that you would like to get an answer to? You have this particular time. Okay. We do have one. Do you want to address it to a particular one or to all of them?
Current President, Mr. Richmond, you mentioned earlier in reference to road repair because we know that there are ongoing problems prior to you coming on board and still ongoing problems with the roads in the rural areas concerned because of the school buses and people that live in the residents in those areas. And you said the Waterway Commission, the timber industry, they assist in repairing. What about funding from the state and the federal, on the federal level? Do our representatives and senators request assistance? Because I've seen information where other parishes have received a large amount of monies to assist with road repair in comparison to what Natchitoches has been receiving. How can we assist with getting our representatives and senators to request more monies for this parish to do repair? Because we do have a major problem with our roads that's ongoing. It needs to be, you know, it needs to be addressed and fixed.
I agree with you totally. Absolutely. And it's one of the things that we fight in parish government in all the parishes that are essentially northwest Louisiana, but really north of I-10. What we have here is we have a population problem. We've got 1,250 square miles. We've got roughly 900 miles of parish road, not including our state highways, because they're in ill repair too. Our interstates, it doesn't even include that 941 miles, I think it is. We petition the state constantly but that money goes where the highest density of population is. When it goes to North Louisiana, it typically goes to Monroe, or it goes to the Shreveport, Bossier area, and it's a population issue. Now, we fight that, and we've got a great contingent of folks down in Baton Rouge and in Washington that fight for us. But whenever they're fighting against the Dallas, the Houston, the Atlantas at the federal level, or they're fighting against the New Orleans and the Baton Rouge and the Lake Charles, which is always trying to come back from a hurricane, it seems, it's a tough row to hoe. So what's happened is the federal government has realized that. Just recently, they've established a grant program that allows us to go together with other small municipalities and small population areas so that we can put our efforts together so that we are a bigger area to service, hopefully to get us where we can get more grants. A lot of it centers around population, and that hurts us. It does. But you can rest assured, your people in Baton Rouge and at the federal level are pushing hard for it every day, and we push them.
Thank you, John. Dorothy, did that answer your question? Are there any other questions from the floor?
I have one. Oh, it's from Mr. Richmond and Mr. Salters, and their answers are golden. All four of y'all can answer later. When it comes to the oil and gas industry that we know Red River is drowning in, do we get any tax dollars or any revenue from the two plants, one in Robeline, one on Highway 1 South, or any gas that's traveling through our parish, through pipes? Are we getting any revenue from that?
Can I go first?
You first, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And what you'll see in this year's budget that'll be presented to the parish council is a recognition of those additional revenues that are coming in. The Haynesville shale money, while we're not really up there in that Haynesville shale area, those oil companies are pushing south. One reason they're pushing south is because we talk to them. We encourage them to drill. They get their engineers there. They've looked at things in the northern part of the parish, and yes, they absolutely do pay taxes, and those severance taxes, we get our fair portion of that. Let me answer one more thing. This may take me another 30 seconds. With regards to that, that's one reason that even whenever we didn't have a lot of pipelines going through here, we were able to get a laydown yard so that all the material would be delivered inside Natchitoches Parish so that we could collect sales tax on all that material that in turn went to other parishes. That helped out our tax situation and our revenue situation. No new taxes on people who live here, but people who are coming in and wanting to do business here, they did it and they paid their sales tax and now they're paying their severance taxes.
Thank you, John. Mr. Salter,
Yeah,
did you?
the compressor station is presently under construction down on Highway 1 before you get to Montrose. It's going to be a pretty good boost, but the only thing about those compressors and pipelines, that thing, it goes good for 2 or 3 years and then it starts coming down, but when it's in its prime, well, we're going to do good on taxes. Fire districts especially, you know. That particular one that they're doing right over there is going to be in Fire District 5, and they need the money. Yeah, it's going to be a good boost for taxes out of any kind of transmission station, pipelines. Does that answer your question?
It does. For the other two candidates that you all continue to pursue, revenues from the oil and gas pipeline whenever.
I would. I can't elaborate very much on it because I'm sure, you know, these two guys will know a lot more than me, but yes.
I believe the federal government's going to drive the decision on whether or not we continue to pursue gas and oil, personally, because they're really pushing alternative energy streams, which I think will absolutely affect us. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Richmond has the foresight to see that and understand that we may have to look at other revenue streams to replace this pipeline if the federal government is successful in phasing out gas and oil from our economy as a whole.
All right, thank you, Scott. Are there any other questions before we give them the opportunity to make their final comments? Any other questions? If not, we're going to allow each one of you 3 minutes to do a closing statement. 2 minutes, okay, it'll be 2 minutes for each candidate. And John, I think we started with you in the beginning, right? We started with you, went that way?
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Richmond, and we're going to go, and you'll be the last one. You have 2 minutes to have closing statements.
Once again, what a privilege it is to sit here and speak with you tonight. It's also been great to listen to you speak to us. We've heard your questions. We've heard your concerns. 4+ years ago, whenever I decided to run for this position, I never, like Stuart said, imagined that we'd see a pandemic, we'd see a hurricane, we'd go through all the things we went through with ice storms that broke nearly every pipe in this parish. And then in the middle of all that, here we go with 100-degree+ days for 2 months. Looks like it's going to be a third, and the damage that's doing to our infrastructure. But it doesn't matter. You call us to serve every day. Not 5 days a week, not 40 hours a week. We serve all day, every day. If you're going to sit in this job, you got to be prepared to deal with that. And it's a great job to have because you get to work around great people. You get to work for the great people of Natchitoches Parish. You get to go and do what I do. And whenever you meet somebody and they say, where are you from? And you start talking about Natchitoches, steel magnolias will only take you so far. Meat pies will only take you so far. It's a wonderful introduction to who we are, but what they want to know after that is what's the people like? What are they? Who are they? Man, what a great gumbo pot we've got here. There's no place I'd rather be. This is where we want to live and die. This is where we want to serve. And I say we because this is me and Kathy. We're here. We're invested in the community. We want to continue to serve. I ask that you re-elect me as your parish president once again in October. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Scott.
I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, because if you weren't here, we would have been talking to an empty room, and that would have been a pretty arduous experience. At the end of the day, I threw my name in the hat because I believe I bring a very unique set of skills that can be useful to Natchitoches Parish as a whole. I also understand that the decision isn't mine, and I would appreciate any support that I could potentially get, but I'll be okay with what the outcome is at the end of the day, no matter what. Because there are good candidates here, and I appreciate them showing up as well and being able to discuss their stances on the questions that we were fielding. I do have the experience to be successful. I'm also human, and I understand I'm reliant on the relationships that I would be able to build in this office in order to be successful. So I thank you immensely for your time, and I hope that our words were heard.
Thank you, Scott. Latoria.
Okay, so I want to start by first thanking everybody for being here and listening to us. The first thing I want to say is I'm not running against these men up here for parish president. I'm running for parish president because I love Natchitoches. I want to see Natchitoches move forward. I want to see unity. I want to show people that we can get along. We can move forward. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to get up here and give you the politically correct answer because that's not me. I'm a citizen of Natchitoches, and I just want to see the best for the community as a whole.
Thank you, Latoria. John Salter.
Earl Long came to Provençal about 1955 when he was running for governor, and he brought us some watermelons, he brought us some cold drinks, and had them in a tub, one that you could take your cup and spew it in there. And when he got through talking and he was getting ready to leave, he lined all those kids up. He was giving us a quarter. That was a lot of money back then. Well, I got my quarter, and I went back and got in line again. And when I got up there, he looked at me and said, "Hadn't I seen you up here yet before?" He said, "Boy," he said, "this cat here is going to make a politician." But anyway, I want to start by saying that when I corrected Mr. Richmond a while ago, that wasn't being ugly. That's the kind of relationship John and I's had all the way through. We don't go up and lick on one another and tell each other how much we love. We say what we got to say, and we do it, you know. And that was just a simple mistake. There been some things said here about taxes tonight. Now, the council is going to vote Monday night on an economic development 4 districts. And that's automatically, if that's passed, that's going to put an automatic penny tax. Now, for somebody to sit up here and say they're not in favor of taxes and they go up there pushing something, it's going to be a tax that people are going to have to pay. And that's what we learned early in school, in high school, that taxation without representation is not the best thing you can do. But anyway, I'm going to give y'all a few more things that you can expect out of me. On Parish Road, you've been seeing little patties in the holes, and you may have a hump, and it may not be quite full, it may be a little bit of a dip, but that won't happen anymore. I'm going to go ahead and get into the business of a patch truck. That eliminates some employees, of course, but it's going to do a better job. Asphalt in this part of the country. Already?
Thank you, thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
And I think we had a good forum tonight. It was clean, it was no personal attacks, and we got a lot of information from our candidate. We want to thank you all again for taking time out of your schedule. And likewise, we'd like to thank the audience for coming out, and as the candidate said, it wouldn't have been successful if they had just showed up and the audience didn't come. So we thank you for your support. We thank the candidates, and we wish you all good luck. And we'd like again to thank Mayor Ronnie Williams. Let's give him a hand for allowing the Democrat Action Committee to hold this forum. And we also want to thank Bill Vance and Steve Stinger for providing the video, audio, and streaming live. We thank you. Relay our thanks to Bill. He's a good friend of mine. And again, we want to thank everyone for coming. And we're going to ask our president, Harold Bayon, would you like to have a final comment?
Thank you all. I want to thank the Sergeant of Arms, Kevin Stafford, and Ernest Sawyer. Thank our moderator. Good job. Bless you all. Thank you. Before you leave, let's just end with prayer. Can we? Pastor.
Let us bow our heads. Father God, we come now at the end of this platform, end of this forum. We thank you for that peace and order was here. We thank you for the candidates. Thank you for the knowledge that they shared with us. We thank you for each and one of us that came and interested in the happenings and the going on in this parish and in this city. We thank you, Lord God, for your guidance, your leadership. We ask now, Lord God, that you would go before us as we prepare to leave to our homes. We ask you to receive us to our home and safely. And we want to give you the glory, give you all the praise, and give you honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yes, sir, I appreciate you, Harold.